Right now, Elon Musk is by far the richest person on Earth. Yet, despite his great net worth, this 54-year-old's billions don't even come close to the wealth of the richest people in history. Well, yes, that means Jeff, Bill, and Adani also don't make the cut. One ancient emperor handed out so much gold he wrecked Egypt's economy. Another wealth grew so bad that governments had to step in and break it apart. So join us as we're going to look at the 15 richest people in history. Number 15, Henry Ford. Henry Ford was an American industrialist and the founder of the Ford Motor Company. Born in 1863, he fundamentally reshaped the automotive industry and revolutionized factory production through mass manufacturing, making vehicles affordable to average Americans. This innovation made him enormously rich. His net worth today would be around $200 billion. His love with mechanics began on his family farm, where he spent more time on machines than on field work. At 16, he left for Detroit and worked as an apprentice machinist, later joining the Edison Illuminating Company. In his spare time, he built gasoline-powered vehicles. In 1903, he started the Ford Motor Company. After some early setbacks, he struck gold in 1908 with the Model T, simple, reliable, and cheap. His real breakthrough came in 1913 with the moving assembly line, reducing car building time from 12 hours to 93 minutes. He also introduced a $5 daily wage, doubling average pay. Well, controversial for his beliefs, but his impact on the industry remains profound. Number 16. Hessian. Hessian was one of the most powerful officials in Chinese history and a close favorite of the Qianlong Emperor during the Qing dynasty. Born in 1750, he was part of the Manchu-bordered Blue Banner, one of the Qing military divisions. It's believed the aging emperor saw in him a resemblance to a beloved concubine, and within a few years he was granted elite positions including Grand Counselor, Minister of Revenue, and head of the Imperial Guards. Instead of serving loyally, he used this power to launch a legendary spree of corruption. He manipulated tax systems, embezzled funds, and misused disaster relief. At his peak, his personal fortune equaled over 15 years of imperial treasury revenue. One method involved underreporting tax collections and pocketing the difference. His corruption weakened the empire, especially during the costly Sino-Nepalese War and White Lotus Rebellion. After Qianlong's death, the new emperor, Jia Qing, arrested Hessian and seized his fortune, estimated at $270 billion in today's value. Number 13. Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa, ruler of the Mali Empire in the 14th century, is widely considered the richest person in all of human history, with wealth exceeding $5 trillion by modern standards. He ascended the throne in 1312 during Mali's Golden Age, ruling vast territories across West Africa, including parts of present-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, and Niger. His empire sat atop the richest gold reserves on Earth, and at a time when gold was the global standard for currency, Musa nearly monopolized the market. His 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca revealed his unfathomable wealth. Traveling with 60,000 people and camels loaded with gold dust, he spent and gifted so much in Cairo and Mecca that it triggered inflation and disrupted economies for years. He returned with scholars, architects, and artisans, transforming Timbuktu into a global center of Islamic scholarship. He built mosques, universities, and libraries, elevating Mali's cultural prestige. Even after his death, his legacy as the wealthiest and most generous ruler in history endures. Number 12. Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius was born in 1794 on Staten Island, and he was a self-made entrepreneur who played a big role in shaping America's 19th century economy. Nicknamed the Commodore due to his early success in maritime trade, Vanderbilt embodied the American dream, rising from nothing to become one of the wealthiest and most influential figures of his era. He dropped out of school early and joined his father's modest ferry business in New York Harbor. At just 16, he borrowed $100 to purchase a small boat and started his own ferry service, transporting passengers and freight. Known for his relentless drive and aggressive tactics, he quickly built a reputation for outworking and outmaneuvering rivals. By the 1820s, he had expanded into steamships, cutting fares and improving efficiency to dominate the industry. Later, he pivoted to railroads, eventually forming the New York Central Railroad. Though known as ruthless and not so good, he donated large sums later in life, including $1 million to establish Vanderbilt University in Nashville. Number 1. Tsar Nicholas II. Tsar, the last emperor of Russia, ruled from 1894 until he abdicated in 1917. His reign saw pure crises, economic struggle, political unrest, and finally revolution. Still, his personal wealth is estimated at $300 billion by today's standards. Born in 1868 into the powerful Romanov dynasty, Nicholas inherited not only the Russian crown, but a vast empire rich in resources, like oil, gold, and sprawling farmland. While technically much of the wealth was state-owned, Nicholas and his family had direct access to palaces, jewels, and state revenues. The Romanovs lived lavishly, owning estates like the Winter Palace, Catherine Palace, and Alexander Palace. They hosted grand balls, traveled on luxury yachts, and wore priceless Fabergé eggs. But the opulence widened the divide between him and his people. Wars and unrest intensified dissatisfaction. By 1917, mutinies and protests forced his abdication. The Soviets seized much of the family's riches, but many believe large portions of Nicholas's fortune remain hidden even now. Number 10. William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, became the first Norman king of England after his triumph at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. His reign triggered enormous change in England's politics, culture, and land ownership. His immense wealth from the start was a critical factor in his rise and helped him solidify power, equivalent today to at least $210 billion. Born as the illegitimate child of Duke Robert of Normandy and a tanner's daughter, William overcame major challenges to even be recognized as Duke. With military skill and strategic brilliance, he crushed rebellions and tightened his grip on Normandy. In 1066, he claimed that King Edward the Confessor had promised him the English throne. When Harold Godwinson took the crown, William launched his invasion. After being crowned on Christmas Day, he seized land from Anglo-Saxon nobles, gifting it to Norman allies. This created a centralized feudal system where the king owned everything. His Domesday Book later cataloged the kingdom's resources for taxation. Number 9. John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller became one of the most powerful business figures in American history. As the founder of Standard Oil, he reshaped the petroleum industry and became the world's first billionaire. His rise began in the 1860s when he spotted potential in oil refining. At a time when the industry was chaotic and inefficient, Rockefeller focused on cutting costs and streamlining operations. In 1870, he founded Standard Oil, and through aggressive tactics like buying out rivals and forging exclusive deals, he created an oil empire. By the 1880s, his company controlled nearly 90% of U.S. oil refining. In 1911, the Supreme Court ruled Standard Oil a monopoly and ordered its breakup. Still, his fortune continued growing, reaching an inflation-adjusted $341 billion. Later in life, he donated over $500 million to medical research, education, and public health. He funded major institutions like Rockefeller University and the University of Chicago, leaving behind a complicated legacy of power and philanthropy. Number 8. Jacob Fugger. Jacob Fugger, born in 1459 in Augsburg, was one of the wealthiest and most powerful bankers in history, worth around $220 billion in today's terms. Known as Jacob the Rich, he transformed his family's textile trade into a vast financial empire that deeply influenced European politics and commerce in the late 15th and early 16th centuries. While his family business thrived in cloth, Fugger expanded into mining and banking, acquiring exclusive rights to copper and silver mines in Tyrol, Bohemia, and Hungary, giving him control over essential resources. He modernized finance by bypassing the church and creating direct loan systems, offering huge sums to monarchs like Maximilian I V in exchange for privileges over trade and mining. He even helped fund the sale of indulgences, which contributed to the Reformation. Still, he supported welfare projects, like the Fuggerei in Augsburg, the world's first social housing, launched in 1516, charging low rent and requiring only daily prayers for the Fugger family. Number C8. Augustus Caesar. Augustus Caesar became Rome's first emperor and one of the wealthiest individuals in recorded history. Ruling from 27 BC to 14 AD, he turned Rome from a fracturing republic into an empire and personally controlled assets worth over $4.6 trillion today. As Julius Caesar's adopted son, he inherited a massive estate and political backing. Following a brutal series of civil wars, Augustus defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. From there, he became Rome's undisputed leader. He amassed wealth from military campaigns, state revenue, and personal estates. When he annexed Egypt, it became his own province. Its grain, gold, and taxes flowed directly to him. He funded massive building projects like aqueducts, roads, and temples, and famously said he found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble. His reign stabilized Rome, expanded its borders, and left a financial, political, and architectural legacy that fueled the empire for centuries. Alright guys, now let's head over to number 6. Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin, born in 1878 in Gori, Georgia, became the Soviet Union's iron-fisted ruler from the mid-1920s until his death in 1953. Though not rich in the usual sense, he didn't own businesses or bank accounts. He held total authority over the USSR's economy, military, and state machinery. That power translated into control over 9.6% of the world's GDP, more than anyone else during his time. The Soviet Union spanned over 8.5 million square miles and was rich in coal, oil, and minerals. Stalin enjoyed a life of luxury while millions suffered. He had personal chefs, lavish dachas, top-tier healthcare, and anything he desired. He built his rule on fear, backed by secret police and propaganda, while his paranoia led to constant purges. Even close allies weren't safe. He frequently changed sleeping quarters to avoid assassination and had food tasters. Though his policies turned the USSR into a superpower, they came with widespread suffering, repression, and a legacy of brutality that haunted the nation for decades. Number 5. Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi was born in 1942 in a Bedouin tent in Libya's desert, and this legendary legend ruled the country from 1969 until his fall in 2011. Seen as both revolutionary and authoritarian, he walked a delicate line and amassed staggering wealth. He seized power in a 1969 coup that ousted King Idris at age 27. Charismatic and polarizing, Gaddafi blended socialism and Islamic ideas, removed foreign influence, and nationalized Libya's oil reserves, transforming it into one of Africa's richest nations. At his peak, his assets spread across offshore accounts, international properties, and foreign investments were estimated at $280 billion. He maintained a humble image, often dressed in traditional robes and lived in a tent, but privately owned jets, palaces, and a custom bulletproof Mercedes with a golden falcon. He financed global movements, supported militant groups, and tried to lead a pan-African and Arab unity effort. During Libya's 2011 uprising, NATO-backed rebels overthrew him. He attempted to smuggle billions out, but much of his fortune remains unaccounted for even today. Number 4. Emperor Shenzong. Emperor Shenzong of Song ruled China from 1067 to 1085, during one of the nation's most economically prosperous eras. Though not personally extravagant, his reign saw him oversee about 30% of the world's total GDP. With massive control over trade, taxation, and state monopolies, Shenzong's influence fueled the Song dynasty's dominance. Guided by Chancellor Wang Anshi, he launched sweeping reforms redistributing taxes more evenly and establishing government monopolies on vital goods like salt and tea. The empire's booming economy thrived under this system. Domestic trade surged as roads, waterways, and infrastructure expanded. Cities like Kaifeng, his capital, became massive commercial hubs with bustling markets selling silk, ceramics, and spices. The introduction of paper money revolutionized transactions, giving the state tighter control. The imperial palace in Kaifeng was filled with luxury and fine art. Shenzong poured wealth into the arts, science, and public institutions, but after his death, many of his policies were undone, and no ruler ever reached his level of financial authority again. Number 3. Andrew Carnegie. This guy was born in 1835 in Scotland, and then after some very hard struggle, he became one of America's richest and most influential industrialists. A steel magnate, he helped drive U.S. industrial growth in the late 19th century. When adjusted for inflation, his fortune would exceed $372 billion. Carnegie's family migrated to Allegheny, Pennsylvania in 1848. His first job was as a bobbin boy in a textile mill, earning just $1.20 per week. Hard-working and ambitious, he moved up rapidly, working as a telegraph messenger and later as assistant to railroad executive Thomas A. Scott. By the 1870s, Carnegie focused entirely on steel. He founded Carnegie Steel and introduced innovations like the Bessemer process to lower production costs. By the 1890s, his mills were outproducing Britain, despite brutal working conditions and labor strikes like the deadly Homestead strike. He sold his empire to J.P. Morgan in 1901 for $480 million. He spent his later life giving away $350 million, funding libraries, universities, and institutions like Carnegie Mellon and the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Number 2. Akbar the Great. Akbar the Great, born in 1542, was the third and most powerful emperor of the Mughal Empire, ruling from 1556 to 1605. He transformed the young empire into one of the wealthiest and most powerful states in the world, controlling roughly 25% of global GDP. He took the throne at age 13 following his father Humayun's setbacks, but under Akbar, the empire expanded across modern-day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Conquest brought immense resources and expanded trade routes, while he overhauled the tax system with the ZAP policy, linking revenue to land productivity. Trade flourished across Asia and Europe, with goods like spices, textiles, and gems pouring in. Akbar's court was legendary for its grandeur and intellect. His Navaratnas, or 9 jewels, included famed poet Birbal and musician Tansen. He wasn't just a conqueror, he championed religious tolerance, public works, and education. His grandson Shah Jahan would carry his legacy forward, eventually commissioning the Taj Mahal, a symbol of the empire's unmatched wealth and artistry. Alright, now let's end this with number 1. Osman Ali Khan. Osman Ali Khan, born April 6, 1886, was the last ruling Nizam of Hyderabad, reigning from 1911 to 1948. At one point, he was considered the richest man alive, with a net worth equal to $230 billion today. His wealth wasn't entirely self-made. He inherited a massively prosperous estate. Hyderabad was among the largest princely states in British India, rich in resources, especially diamonds. The famed Golconda mines, which produced legendary gems like the Koh-i-Noor and Hope Diamond, were still lucrative during his rule. His personal fortune included immense reserves of gold, jewels, and palaces. One of his most famous possessions was the 185-carat Jacob diamond, used as a paperweight. He lived modestly, wore old clothes, used a worn fountain pen, and quietly oversaw an enormous treasury. He funded education, healthcare, and infrastructure, founding universities and hospitals, including Osmania University. After India's independence, he attempted to remain autonomous, but Operation Polo in 1948 brought Hyderabad into the Indian Union. Even after losing power, his philanthropy continued. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.